Have you ever had a reader approach you and was excited or curious about a certain part of the book where you were really, or the story, that you were really surprised that they picked up on that, and so it changed something in you and how you approached the next part of a chapter because you were surprised at how much they really focused on something that you thought maybe was just glossed over?
Yeah, I mean, and there have been a few things. One of them was that there's a point of view I continue in the underwater colony through the subsequent two books where I track certain characters, and there are some what I would call minor supporting characters that had a big impact, where people were like, oh, I loved Maud, I hope she continues, I hope she comes back. And she was a relatively small character in the first book, so it was kind of gratifying when somebody picks up on something and you're like, oh, good, because I have a lot planned and a lot is going to happen with that character. I'm glad that you liked them. There's a character who is in the second book who I won't reveal too much about, but her name's Seeker, and she comes from maybe one of the other colonies. But I wrote her in a way where I was like, God, I don't know if she's going to work as a character. I really hope people like her because she's a little bit devolved, a little bit kind of Gollum-ish, like from Lord of the Rings. But I have some early bloggers that are looking at the book, and one of them mentioned how much she likes Seeker. So I was like, oh, good, I hope her character's working, because she was, for me, a challenge. She's a character who also presents as an antagonist to start with. So I was like, I hope that this whole arc will work with her, because she's really important in the same way Gollum is super important in Lord of the Rings, and it wouldn't work without him. So anyway, so it is kind of nice when certain characters connect or certain things that you wrote work.
Do you envision the readers while you're writing, or are you so in a world that it's not even part of, I mean, are you picturing someone reading this and their reactions? I'm just curious, how close do you feel to the reading?
Really. I mean, I think when you're writing books and you want to publish, you are like having this big kind of dream, like, oh, I so hope that I have readers. But it's not like someone specific that I picture. And you know, when you're in a story, I'm just really in the story. So I'm really not thinking about a lot else. I'm really get pretty absorbed into just the story of my book. It's kind of like reading a book, but then it's like choose your own adventure, where you get to, like, you know, create where it goes. So yeah, so I'm pretty much absorbed when I'm in that, and then I try not to think about it because you know, I just try to keep a really kind of gratitude perspective, and I'm just grateful for anyone who reads and loves the book. Like, it's so great. Anyone who comes to reading, I just think it's so fabulous, and I don't care who they are, where they came from. You know, and I always try to talk to them and like have a relationship, because, you know, I just always try to channel myself as a young reader, a young fan of films, fan of music, and whenever I've gotten to meet one of my idols, you know, and what that is like. And I always just try to keep in mind, you know, going back home is especially cool because, you know, there's not a lot of people who come through Roanoke, Virginia. So, you know, it's really cute, especially also when you're talking about your book, and then a lot of times they don't realize you're the author. Sometimes they just think that you're, you know, talking about the book or what, and then there'll be this moment where like, oh my God, you wrote this, and it's like this big deal. So I just try to keep that in mind.